February bass fishing is where many anglers struggle. Cold fronts, unstable water temperatures, and pressured fish. February is the month that exposes bad decisions with the quickness. But if you understand how the fish are behaving right now, and you have the right lures tied on, February could be one of the best months of the year for bass fishing. These 5 lures will cover every situation the month of February throws at you when you're out there chasing that largemouth bass. In February, the largemouth bass is not fully committed to the spawn yet. However, they are not locked into winter patterns either. They're in a transitionary period. Largemouth bass is staging, suspending, and sliding up shallow during those days where it warms up. Your job is to not force the bite. Your job is to match the largemouth bass's mood. With that being said, my number 1 pick, and if I only had one lure to throw during the month of February, it would be the suspending jerkbait. If you have only one lure or bait to throw during the month of February when chasing that largemouth bass, it should be the suspending jerkbait. This lure shines when bass are suspended or inactive. You're not asking them to chase. You are trying to create the reaction strike. Fish the suspending jerkbait around points, docks, or any type of secondary structure leading to spawning flats. If you're not getting bit immediately on the suspending jerkbait, do not change out your bait. Change your pause, change your cadence. Go from a 5-second to a 7-second to a 10-second or even longer on that pause. Almost all of your strikes during the month of February by the largemouth bass on a suspending jerkbait is going to be when that bait is sitting completely still. This lure alone can absolutely change your day after a wicked cold front. Be creative with your jerkbaits, guys. Everybody wants to throw that big 5 and 6 inch jerkbait. That's a great suspending jerkbait, but guess what? The bass sometimes also want to feed on something a little bit smaller. If you're out there and you're only throwing the 5 to 6 inch jerkbait, that might be the entire reason why you're not getting bit. Go with something a little smaller like this Duo Realis. Go with something even smaller than that like the Karashi. Make sure that you are waiting and hesitating because that's when most often you're going to get bit by that largemouth bass during the month of February. When you are fishing for bigger bass in the month of February, it's hard to beat the number 2 pick on my list. That is a finesse or a compact jig. As you know, if you watch the channel, I'm all about dirty jigs, and it's one of the only jigs that I go with. Dirty jigs are absolutely incredible. Whether it's a football head, a finesse, a compact jig, it just doesn't matter. Dirty jigs gets the job done. The finesse or compact jig is an absolutely meal bait. Not flashy, not fast, but incredibly effective. Fish this jig around laydowns, docks, rock transitions, or any type of creek channels. When I'm throwing this jig, I'm going with something very subtle as far as my trailer goes, if I go with a trailer at all. I like the Rage Chunk from Strike King, as well as any other type of small craw out there. This little craw right here from X Zone is quickly becoming one of my absolute favorites, whether I'm using it as a trailer or if I'm just throwing it out there Texas rigged or even on that sneaky little Ned rig, which we'll talk about later. Remember guys, during the month of February, largemouth bass are not out there chasing. But if you put something subtle out there like this compact jig from Dirty Jigs and a little bitty craw trailer on it, you put it right into the strike zone, right into their face, they are going to annihilate it. If you want a big February bass, this is your absolute greatest chance, in my opinion, to get that big bass bite during the month of February. That compact jig from Dirty Jigs with some sort of a small trailer, whether it's a craw, a chunk, or something of your liking. Number 3, folks, is that Ned rig. If you've watched the channel, you know for a fact during this time of year, I've always got that Ned rig tied on. I always think of the Ned rig like a phenomenal insurance policy. If I cannot get bit on any other thing during the month of February, that Ned rig is definitely going to get sparked. The Ned rig absolutely shines in clear water, high-pressured lakes, and shallow flats warming in the afternoon. The Ned rig works because it doesn't look like it's trying too hard, and February bass notice that. If you need confidence bites, this is the one in February, guys. The Ned rig, the insurance policy. Outcast right now is making something called the Perfect Ned, and honestly, I think this thing is as close to perfect as you can get. I go with the black and the green pumpkin. I try to match it as much as humanly possible. Also, the old Ned lock is an absolute great choice always when you're fishing with the Ned rig. This is usually my first choice, but that perfect Ned right now from Outcast is becoming a close second. As far as the products that go on there, I love the Z-Man TRD. That's almost exclusively what I throw on the Ned rig, but I'll use like the tail end of a trick worm or something like that that is messed up. Sometimes a longer worm, depends on the type and the season. But in February, I keep it pretty small, I keep it pretty subtle, and the bass have a tendency to like that. Try the whites, try the neutrals, try the naturals, and try to match the hatch a little bit up inside of the water columns that you're fishing. If you get any type of a warm day during the month of February, that is when bass absolutely flip the switch. And that's when you want to throw the old Bill Lewis rattle trap or some sort of small crankbait. The crankbait can be absolutely deadly during the month of February in shallow grass, flats near deeper water, and pre-spawn staging areas. During the month of February, and when that bite gets a little more difficult, that's when I'll try to match the hatch a little bit more compared to any other time of the year. I'll try to match that hatch with maybe a crawfish that happens to be inside of the water column I'm fishing, or maybe a bait fish as well. I personally like to use the yo-yo retrieve. I cast it out there, I let it fall deep into the water column, and then I just yo-yo it and rip it through the grass, dying grass, new grass, whatever's going on in the water columns that you're fishing. Yo-yo that thing, sometimes running it faster, sometimes running it slower, depending upon what the bass want to react to. Red craw patterns dominate during the early part of the month of February, and then when you start getting a little closer towards March or deeper into spring, a lot of times the shad or the bait fish colors will dominate. Don't be afraid to mix it up. Could be purples, reds, greens, blues. Let the bass decide what they want to bite and don't be too stubborn. When you get those warmer days during February, they might be few and far between, but that rattle trap or any other type of crankbait will help you cover a lot of water in a short amount of time to find out where those big healthy bass are that want to play along. I talked earlier about number 3, a Ned rig being an insurance policy. Well, this number 5 is an absolute insurance policy during the month of February, especially when you just cannot get bit. Number 5 is that Texas rigged craw. Whether you're throwing 6 cents, throwing that Strike King, throwing that X Zone, Gary Yamamoto, I think you need to keep it small, subtle, and try to mimic what you're seeing inside of that water column. If you're seeing very small craws that they're feeding on and they happen to be like a purplish blue, try to mimic that the best you can. That's going to give you a better opportunity to get bit. If you want one that's really almost indestructible, try that sleeper craw right there from Mega Bass. That is a really, really good bait. It lasts a long time, and I think you will get more bites on this as well. Guys, I think we've covered it all. We talked about the suspending jerkbait, the compact jig or the finesse jig, the Ned rig, the craw, the crankbait. I think if you're out there throwing something like these or combinations of something like these, you're gonna have a very successful month of February. I hope your February is not just fishing, I hope it is also catching, and I hope you guys enjoy the month, stay warm, and we will see you again sometime in March.